Okay, let's have something more devastating. Okay, just now those were happy news. Well, they're happy that we're not around. But in other parts of the world, especially last year in Australia, the New South Wales fires was so destructive, right? It's actually burning everything, and animals were burned beyond recognition. Some of them were just reduced to dust. People don't even know whether they're still there or how many they have lost. So estimated 1 billion animals actually perished in the fires, including this poor koala here, probably half dead already, right? So ecologists have actually discovered that koalas were some of them lost perhaps more than half the entire population, and there were thousands of them all lying dead everywhere. Okay, so these are examples of how extreme weather and this is climate change, really real climate change can cause an effect. So you have also seen this mountain picture before. Okay, this is an example of how habitat loss can occur, not just with vegetation, because you studied earlier that vegetation, the plants will start moving upwards if the climate change allows them to grow at the upper regions where it start to become warmer now. Now this will do the same also to animals, for example like birds. Now birds will also start to go because usually they'll follow where the food is found, typically where the let's say the fruits or whatever the seeds of the plants. So it has been shown that with changing temperatures and all that, they've actually start moving. And what's going to happen is that those that were originally on the top, like this poor chap here, oh, he's going to be displaced. All right, so then he'll be gone, right? Because of the fellas coming in from the bottom. And our friend on the top is probably not used to the warmer weather, so obviously it's not going to make a more suitable animal for that place. All right, so we're talking about habitat loss for some of these poor chaps. Okay. Okay, this is an interesting one. This is like a punk rocker, right? Okay, so it's a bit of a stereotype, lah, but maybe this is the hair like that. So interestingly, this is not real hair. It's just the algae growing on it. Now, this is the punk rocker Mary River turtle, which is found in Australia. They apparently, as the name suggests, they're just found in Mary River, and they have this very signature growth on their head. Now, it may not be nothing much rather than just interesting, cute little terrapin of sort. But the thing is that this animal is really going extinct because they're only found in that particular river. And if the river gets clogged up or totally destroyed, then our friends will lose their home. Now, this is a lone star tortoise running around in the Indonesian forest here. So this poor chap is also trying to escape the fire. Okay, so they are also under the endangered list. So just now we saw the koalas; they were also undergoing extinction. Though this report came in early March, where after analysis of the situation, they found that they're seriously undergoing, probably going under extinction now. A lot of them didn't recover from their wounds in the fire. Okay, so we're running out of also these cute little animals and the mascot for Australia. Okay, now so is it just for the animals alone? Is it only about the animals dying and habitats lost? Yes, in fact, it's not just about the forests. We are also talking about other parts of the world where the habitats have gone missing. Okay, so glaciers have actually shrunk, and we know that because of global warming, right? So there are many species that actually depend on the glaciers for survival. So because of this shrinking, right, and plus all the water that's coming out because of the melting, okay, all these will result in changes in the river systems and so on. So we come to the last part about the coral bleaching. Okay, so these are the other impacts on animals. Okay, coral bleaching is an corals are bleaching is an important element problem, and then corals are typically animals. Okay, so corals have been around for millions of years. Now, basically, they are just sitting there. They seem to be like plants not doing anything, but basically they provide a habitat, and then biodiversity also means that they are actually the most important contributor to the entire ecosystem there because they in fact they form the exoskeletons, the binding of the hard corals. They help to bind all the rocks together and provide the habitats for the fishes and so on. All right, so this coral bleaching is a big issue. Okay, not just the acidification of the oceans is causing the corals to have a problem, the high temperatures also. Now I'm also enthusiast in keeping marine fish and corals. I've typically kept them in the chiller environment with the chiller running. So typically, if I allow the temperatures to go beyond 30 degrees even for 2 days, they will start to bleach. And when they bleach, it's not that the corals will typically just die out. All right, bleached corals, some of them, if they are bleached like that, this is a recent picture of the Great Barrier Reef, a very recent picture. The white parts are those that are bleached. Doesn't mean that they'll die off, because if given the circumstances that the water cools back down to below 30, let's say around the range of 26 to 20, in fact they do much better around 24 to 26 then degrees Celsius. So then they can actually re-establish back the zooxanthellae, which is actually found in their tissue. Okay, what happens? You see those brown colors, right? Those are actually a type of algae called zooxanthellae that actually resides in their tissue, which allows them to actually reap the benefits of this algae. Now, this algae can photosynthesize and produce energy into ATP. So, what the coral does is actually to allow this algae to actually reside in its tissue and literally provide the energy for it in return to give it a safe environment plus all the nutrients that it needs. All right. So the coral system is basically a closed ecosystem. All right. By right, the corals with their zooxanthellae will be happily surviving in an environment where the energy doesn't go beyond them. That means they supply each other in terms of how things work. As long as there's light, there will be the capacity for photosynthesis. Most coral species can sustain themselves up to only 20% of their needs. All right, 80% typically comes from the zooxanthellae. All right. So when the weather gets bad, when the temperatures get really hot, what's going to happen is they're going to expel this coral. Okay, because when the weather gets hot and everything gets high, the energy level in the zooxanthellae is very high. So these are very simple organisms. When they undergo photosynthesis, they will produce extreme high quantities of oxygen and all these free radicals, which will actually damage and kill off the coral. So it's like having it's like holding a toxic animal in your skin, and if you don't get rid of it, it's going to kill you in the end. So in the end, they will typically just excrete and purge all the zooxanthellae uh, until the phenomenon is much better. They can bring it back. Okay, so this is actually the whole idea. Now, when the corals purge all their zooxanthellae, right, they will also create a lot of slime and everything, get everything out, right? But then, literally, when they die off, they will leave behind, especially for the hard corals, they'll leave behind this exoskeleton, all right, made of this calcium carbonate. So, this calcium carbonate with time, of course, it will erode and disappear if the coral dies. But ultimately, the other thing that actually uses it will actually be algae. Now, a lot of these algae would start to colonize and grow on this free estate, free real estate here, right? There's a lot of space, so it will start to grow. And because it starts to grow, right, it will plague the whole thing. All right, so it will start to grow into other corals in the neighborhood that are actually apparently growing well, but you will cover them because you grow at a faster rate. So you can imagine the coral literally just killing off everybody else. So that's also another big issue. Now, this part is not so much covered in the syllabus, but it came out as a subtle question in one of the A-level questions. Okay, so this Cowpera, right? This is a very common algae, macroalgae actually. This is actually banned in California. So if you have this in California, you can go to jail for possessing this or releasing this into their waters. Okay, but in Singapore it's very common, and some people actually even eat another version of it. They call it the sea grapes as kind of a diet. You can actually eat them, lah, but then that's not the purpose. The point is that they are very invasive.